Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Common Sense Man. I'm Jeff Wiley, your host. I want to jump into the Facebook whistleblower. And she's not whistleblowing on what we all believe she was. Um, she's actually not asking the federal government to tell Facebook to regulate or deregulate themselves a little bit more and let Facebook stop with all their fact checking. She wants more. Yes, she was I watched the 60 Minutes interview, and she was happy with the 2020 fact checking and keeping the Hunter Biden stuff off. And she didn't say that, but that's what she was meaning, because it's misinformation. Misinformation is titled. So if you say misinformation nowadays, you're saying that someone with an opinion like myself, um, who thinks makes the statement that I think natural immunity to COVID-19 is as good or better than a vaccine. That's misinformation. Taking ivermectin prescribed to you by a doctor, that's misinformation. Saying that you have Second Amendment rights and they're going to try to take them away, that's misinformation. Okay? 95% of the misinformation out there is basically coming at an individual like myself and pretty much anybody that watches me. And even if you don't watch me, eventually, if you have a dissenting opinion of anything that they believe to be violence or could be bad, they'll come after you and tell you that's misinformation. You're not allowed to share it. So I want to get into that video. Um, I want to react to this, and I'm I'm just amazed at this lady, and I want to be able to. I want to take it from a little bit further after she starts her opening, because she's talking to Congress, and I want you guys to check this out.
The best in us. But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
Now listen to her words. They know how to make it safer. Safer how? She doesn't make a legitimate argument. She's basically saying what?
Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help. Yesterday, we saw Facebook get taken off the internet. I don't know why it went down, but I know that for more than 5 hours, Facebook wasn't used to deepen divides, destabilize democracies, and make young girls and women feel bad about their bodies. It also means that millions of small businesses weren't able to reach potential customers, and countless photos of new babies weren't joyously celebrated by family and friends around the world.
Hey, why don't we bring MySpace back?
I believe in the potential of Facebook. We can have social media we enjoy that connects us without tearing apart our democracy, putting our children in danger, and sowing ethnic violence around the world.
Tearing our democracy apart. Again, who? Who is tearing our democracy apart? She doesn't give anybody. She doesn't say who did it or what was said that makes her think the democracy is being torn apart. In the 60 Minutes interview, it was the January 6th insurrection, which by definition was probably the worst insurrection ever committed in the history of insurrections, if that's what they want to call it.
We can do better. I have worked as a product manager at large tech companies since 2006, including Google, Pinterest, Yelp, and Facebook. My job has largely focused on algorithmic products.
Oh, and by the way, on this lady, look her up. When she worked at Pinterest, she kind of did some scandalous crap there. Look her name up with Pinterest and find out. She was pretty scandalous over there. Again, not trying to tear down her character. This just kind of seems to be what she does when she doesn't agree with something they're doing. And if you look that up, okay, I could bring it up. I'm not going to bring it up right now. I just want to go through this.
Like Google Plus Search, and recommendation systems like the one that powers the Facebook newsfeed. Having worked on 4 different types of social networks, I understand how complex and nuanced these problems are. However, the choices being made inside of Facebook are disastrous for our children, for our public safety, for our privacy, and for our democracy. And that is why we must demand Facebook make changes. During my time at Facebook, first working as the lead product manager for civic misinformation, and later on.
Now, did you hear what she just said? Let me back it up. Listen to what she just said. I want you to listen to that.
Manager for civic misinformation, and
she worked as the lead manager for civic misinformation.
Later on counter-espionage. I saw Facebook repeatedly encounter conflicts between its own profits and our safety. Facebook consistently resolved these conflicts in favor of its own profits. The result has been more division, more harm, more lies, more threats, and more combat. In some cases,
combat?
This dangerous online talk has led to actual violence that harms and even kills people. This is not simply a matter of certain social media users being angry or unstable, or about one side being radicalized against the other. It is about Facebook choosing to grow at all costs, becoming an almost $1 trillion company.
Now, let me say one thing. I'm not all for Facebook. I wouldn't mind if the company was broken up. Like I said, bring MySpace back. Bring something else back that has something that... But this is what we all use. I use it. So I'm just as guilty as the next person because I'm out here doing it. But there needs to be something else in the market. It's a $1 trillion company. You can't compete against that.
Company by buying its profits with our safety. During my time at Facebook, I came to realize a devastating truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside of Facebook. The company intentionally...
Well, that's typical. Nobody knows what happens inside the government. So, I mean, that's kind of...
hides vital information from the public, from the US government, and from governments around the world. The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages.
Now, again, what messages? Is she just, painting a brush here? Okay, is that, again...
I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth.
Sorry about the dog.
The severity of this crisis demands that we break out of our previous regulatory frames. Facebook wants to trick you into thinking that privacy protections or changes to Section 230 alone will be sufficient. While important, these will not get to the core of the issue, which is that no one truly understands the destructive choices made by Facebook. We can afford nothing less than full transparency. As long as Facebook
Agreed.
is operating in the shadows, hiding its research from public scrutiny,
Agreed.
It is unaccountable. Until the incentives change, Facebook will not change. Left alone, Facebook will continue to make choices that go against the common good, our common
What's the common good?
good. When we realized big tobacco was hiding the harms it caused, the government took action. When we figured out cars were safer with seatbelts, the government took action. And when our government learned that opioids were taking lives, the government took action. I implore you to do the same here. Today, Facebook shapes our perception of the world by choosing the information we see. Even those who don't use Facebook are impacted by the majority who do. A company with such frightening influence over so many people, over their deepest thoughts, feelings, and behavior, needs real oversight. But Facebook's closed design means it has no real oversight. Only Facebook knows how it personalizes your feed for you. At other large tech companies like Google, any independent researcher can download from the internet the company's search results and write papers about what they find. And they do.
So Google's completely transparent. She's trying to get a job at Google.
But Facebook hides behind walls that keeps researchers and regulators from understanding the true dynamics of their system. Facebook will tell you privacy means they can't give you data. This is not true. When tobacco companies claimed that filtered cigarettes were safer for consumers, scientists could independently invalidate these marketing messages and confirm that, in fact, they posed a greater threat to human health.
I don't know about you, but I've known cigarettes to have warning labels on them since I was getting packs of Cools for my mother for 35 cents at the Denny's out of the local little pull machine. It said Surgeon General, and that was in the 70s and early 80s.
The public cannot do the same with Facebook. We are given no other option than to take their marketing messages on blind faith. Not only does the company hide most of its own data, my disclosure has proved that when Facebook is directly asked questions as important as, how do you impact the health and safety of our children, they mislead and they choose to mislead and misdirect. Facebook has not earned our blind faith. This inability to see into Facebook's actual systems and confirm how they work is communicated and confirm that they work as communicated is like the Department of Transportation regulating cars by only watching them drive down the highway. Today, no regulator has a menu of solutions for how to fix Facebook because Facebook didn't want them to know enough about what's causing the problems. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been need for a whistleblower.
Again, I think Facebook needs to be, I don't say it, but kind of broken up. There's not supposed to be monopolies in the United States of America, but we have them. We have Google. We have Facebook. Amazon basically now, Jeff Bezos with Twitch, and Twitter with what's his face, but that's owned again by Bezos. Yeah. I don't disagree with where she's going. I'm disagreeing that I think she wants more oversight on everything and on speech.
How is the public supposed to assess if Facebook is resolving conflicts of interest in a way that is aligned with the public good if the public has no visibility into how Facebook operates?
And again, what's the public good? She's not explaining that. Okay, again, we live in a world now to where public good is definitely means something. And stop with my truth. It's either the truth or it's not. Okay, period. That's my truth. No, it either is or it isn't. It's either truth or it's a lie or it's stretched a bit. My truth doesn't mean squat. My truth means that you don't believe it enough. So you're going to say, that's my truth. No, that's the truth. That's what we were taught. When you say it like that, it's the truth, or it's supposed to be. My truth don't mean squat to anybody. It shouldn't, unless you say that's the truth.
This must change. Facebook wants you to believe that the problems we're talking about are unsolvable. They want you to believe in false choices. They want you to believe that you must choose between a Facebook full of divisive and extreme content or losing one of the most important values our country was founded upon, free speech. That you must...
Agreed. Now, is free speech free? Let's find out.
Choose between public oversight of Facebook's choices and your personal privacy. That to be able to share fun photos of your kids with old friends, you must also be inundated with anger-driven virality. They want you to believe that this is just part of the deal. I am here today to tell you that's not true. These problems are solvable. A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible. But there's one thing that I hope everyone takes away from these disclosures. It is that Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own. My fear is that without action, divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it. Congress can change the rules that Facebook plays by and stop the many harms it is now causing.
Get rid of Section 230, period. Get rid of it. And again, if we don't have some sort of a avenue or a way to be able to speak, again, 90 to 95% of the news that's controlled right now has an agenda. There's not supposed to be agenda in news. There's supposed to be news, not agenda. Okay, when you read the newspaper, you're supposed to read the news. Then you have the editor's notes, or you have somebody write an opinion piece. Everything in the news now is an opinion. It's not fact. It's not. Okay, these people that go on these news networks and say, I'm a journalist, I mean, come on, you're not a journalist. You're just saying what your opinion is. And if the news or a certain individual sides with you, you go, okay, that's the gospel. Instead of going, okay, I understand what you're saying. Let's hear what this side has to say. And if this side has another compelling argument, then we are supposed to make the decision. Not the news for you.
We now know the truth about Facebook's destructive impact. I really appreciate the seriousness which the members of Congress and the Securities and Exchange Commission are approaching these issues. I came forward at great personal risk because I believe we still have time to act. But we must act now. I'm asking you, our elected representatives.
If she said she came forward for great personal risk, I get it, Facebook, but she threw a little hit there to Google, saying Google doesn't. Google, okay, before the 2020 election in 2019, there was already claims that their algorithm was completely set against the incumbent president. That you couldn't look up something. If you were to type in Trump's name, it would take you to everything that was bad news-wise. It wouldn't take you to anything positive that he had done. Trust me, people, he did do positive things. Whether you believe it or not, he did. And his country was a heck of a lot better off than we are right now. If you think we're better off right now, you've been in your room for a year and a half and have not left or turned the television on ever.
Representatives to act. Thank you.
We're for.
All right. So that was that. So here's the deal, everybody. What is she saying? Does she want Facebook deregulated to the point of where they allow all speech? Doesn't sound that way to me. It doesn't. It sounds to me like she wants more people to say, like what I'm saying, to be regulated, because it could take some crazy person and Jeff said this and the Common Sense Man channel or Tim Pool or Joe Rogan or some of these other people said this, so they went out and acted crazy. See, that's what they're looking for. And I don't know, because she didn't say anything in her opening statement. Now, she could have easily been asked 1,000 questions, which I'll look into and we'll talk about later. But I don't know if she's the whistleblower that we were all hoping for. Look, I don't have a problem with Facebook being broken up and being able to do, like I said, bring back MySpace or something. People can get on and do something. I mean, but somebody's got to jump into that and do it. So hit the like button, subscribe, share. Let's get out there. Let's talk about, because again, if she's an actual whistleblower, great. If she's just basically a prop in a situation that says we need more Big Brother and government to regulate what you hear and see, it's not what we're looking for, people. Have a good one.